Welcome to the Pampered Thoughts Podcast, where we are inspiring and encouraging women to love themselves as they are without shame or guilt, focusing on topics such as self-love, marriage and family, balance in life and business, and all things woman. Every week, we'll share inspirational topics that focus on helping you to overcome your struggles and limitations with lack of identity, low self-esteem, self-love, confidence, and so much more. I'm your host, Veronica Scurry, a wife, mom, speaker, entrepreneur, and more importantly, a daughter of the King. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Pampered Thoughts Podcast. I'm your host, Veronica Scurry, and I'll be sharing the inside scoop on topics that relate to self-love, marriage and family, faith, homeschooling, parenting children with special needs, and so much more. So here's a little bit about me. I'm a wife of 22 years, going on 23 in September, to an amazing husband. I'm a mom to two beautiful daughters. My husband and I have been in ministry for 18 years, but God called us to actually start our own personal ministry in 2015. So we just turned 5 years this past Father's Day. I've been a serial entrepreneur for 16 years. I've also homeschooled my girls with special needs for 14 years. My youngest graduated this year in these awkward times during COVID and the quarantine. So my babies are no longer babies anymore. And I'm cool with that because they are really good girls. I'm blessed to have them as my daughters. My husband, I'm blessed to have. They're my biggest supporters. And so I started the podcast because of my story and what I've gone through. I know that there are women who struggle in some of the same areas that I did and that I still do at times. Even to this day, I still have to be mindful of my thoughts and be careful with how I treat myself. And so each week, we're going to dive into topics like growing in self-love, respecting your yes and your no, owning your position, and more. You'll also get a chance to hear from guests who will give their story or provide their insight on various topics like accountability, entrepreneurship, homeschooling children with special needs. I know there are mothers out there that have to do that as well as I did, among other topics. And I hand selected these guests because I know that they will provide you with the answers that you're looking for when it comes to setting boundaries while you're working on loving yourself. Also about parenting children with special needs. I know that we need that extra help because it can be challenging. Also honoring and submitting to your husband even when you don't want to. Those are some of the topics that some of my guests will talk about. But the reason that this show is important to me is because my story starts when I was an 18-year-old young lady with big goals, big dreams, big plans for my life, but things changed really quickly. I became a girlfriend, a high school graduate, a wife, and a mom all in a matter of 9 months. You can imagine the emotions, the pressure, all of the uncertainty that I felt as a new young mom and a wife who had just graduated high school. I ended up becoming a stay-at-home mom, and truthfully, I was very reluctant to stay at home. I was unwilling. I did not want to stay home because it wasn't something that I really envisioned myself doing. I wanted to be a wife. I wanted to be a mom, but I also wanted to build a career for myself to help my husband to provide for the family. So I had other dreams rather than being a stay-at-home mom. I pushed back at the thought that just was not in God's plan for me at the time. I did not want to believe that He wanted me to stay home. So as the years went on, I became more and more depressed. I lost my identity in being a wife and a mom. I didn't want to call myself a stay-at-home mom because I felt like I really wasn't contributing to the household financially. This is all going through my head at the time. I had a complete lack of self-confidence, self-worth, and self-love because I didn't know who I was outside of being the wife and outside of being the mommy. I didn't know what my purpose was. I was lost. A few years after all of this, I found out that both of my girls had special needs. That caused me a whole new spiral downward. It was draining emotionally. It was draining physically because now I didn't know what to do or how to relate relate to my children. And so that was hard for me. And so spiritually, I was questioning God, like, what's going on here? What are you doing to me? I was really mad at God. Yep. And I said it. I was mad at God because sometimes we don't want to admit when we're mad at God when things aren't going right in our life. And because it sounds wrong, it sounds like, what are you doing? You don't talk to God, talk to God like that. But, I had to realize for myself that if I want to be healed, and if you're looking for healing in something, you have to first be truthful with yourself. I had to be truthful with myself. And so this was something that was all new for me. And I felt like a whirlwind had hit my life. And that's the only way I knew how to deal with it until I was able to find people who worked through some of these things with me. And so I'm going to reveal more about my story and my experiences as time goes on. But this, in short, is why I chose to start Pampered Thoughts, because I know that there are women who are like me that are looking to have someone to understand them. They're looking for someone to give them inspiration, to encourage you to keep going. Don't give up, to stay the course. But also there's someone who will give you the tools. They'll give you the resources and the things that you need to help you along the journey. I was one of those moms who was stuck because I didn't feel like anybody understood me. I didn't feel like anybody knew what I was going through. Really, I didn't even know why I was depressed the way I was. And so there were things that I had to work out in my life. That's what I want to share with you all. And I know that if I can help at least one wife and or mom understand that you have a purpose in your position, that you have a purpose for what you're going through and what you're doing. And if I can help you navigate those uncertain waters, because sometimes we go through things we have no idea why, but to help you to go through those uncertain times, to find out what your purpose is, why you're going through what you're going through. And if I'm able to do that, then I'm doing what I was called to do. And I'm here to shed more light on how we as wives and mothers can keep our identity, love on ourselves, and still take care of the home without feeling shame and guilt in the process. And hopefully I can give you a perspective that's not really shared. As I researched myself to try to find different things, a lot of the information is old when you're talking about losing your identity and being a wife, losing your identity and being a mom, not really understanding who you are as a woman. There's information out there, but a lot of it that I came across was kind of old. And so I just wanted to start this show to be an encouragement and to share my experience, but also help other wives and moms and women. You don't necessarily have to be a wife or a mom to have lost your identity. Just being a woman, sometimes in the world that we live in, it will give you an appearance or a perspective to make you think that you're not good enough, to make you think that you have to be like others. This is not just for wives and moms, but it's for women all around. If you struggle with your identity, if you struggle in finding your purpose, if you struggle in loving yourself and understanding and knowing your self-worth, this show is going to be for you. And if you haven't already, I want you to go ahead, subscribe to the podcast so you can be one of the first to know when we drop our new episodes. I'm really looking forward to sharing everything with you all. And so until next time, stay pampered. Thanks for joining us this week on the Pampered Thoughts Podcast. Be sure to visit us at www.pamperedthoughts.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or RSS, so you'll never miss a show. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Pampered Thoughts, and on Twitter at I Am Pampered. As always, subscribe to the show to catch a new episode every week. And if you found value in the show, please leave a rating on iTunes and tell a friend about us. We want to continue to bring you the episodes you love. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, stay pampered.